Ted Bundy is regarded as one of America's most vicious serial killers, having murdered at least 30 women and young girls over a span of 4 years. He leveraged his charm and appealing looks as the good boy persona to mask his horrific intentions and the fact that he was a cunning murderer and assailant, capable of kidnapping, mutilating, and sexually assaulting his victims. Jerry Blair, a state prosecutor on one of the murder cases, stated, according to the New York Times, Ted Bundy was a complex man who slipped into crime at some point. He killed simply for the thrill of the act and the challenge of escaping his pursuers. He was a monster disguised as a polite human being. Bundy was connected to as many as 36 murders, although authorities believe the true number could be higher, and was sentenced to death following his crimes in Florida in 1978. He died in the electric chair in 1989. Over the years, much has unfolded about Ted Bundy's life, including the family he left behind. The serial killer had a wife named Carole Ann Boone, and while he was incarcerated, a daughter named Rosa Johnson was born to him. Ted Bundy and Carole Ann Boone met while working in the Washington State Emergency Services, as detailed in the book The Only Living Witness, the true story of the serial sex killer Ted Bundy. Boone remarked, "I loved Ted immediately. We understood each other well. He made an impression on me as someone much shyer than the details happening around him, compared to what he was carefully hiding. Certainly, he was more dignified and reserved than others in the office. He was charming, reckless, and as polite as any respectable man." Despite Bundy's interest in dating her, their relationship remained without physical contact. Boone became enamored with Bundy and later assisted him when he faced legal troubles. She fully believed in his innocence concerning the charges and was aware of his relationship with his girlfriend, Elizabeth Klopfer, yet she remained hopeful for her own opportunity. Elizabeth Klopfer was among the first to contact the police after a sketch of Bundy appeared in newspapers from a witness following his abduction of girls from Lake Sammamish State Park. However, Bundy insisted on his innocence during his arrest in 1975, and Klopfer had a tumultuous relationship with him, often unsure of what to believe. She reported him to the police twice without his knowledge, while Bundy professed his love for her, claiming she was the only woman he truly loved. He frequently called her from prison and requested to see her, and Klopfer visited him early in his incarceration. She was the last person to speak with him on the phone before his execution. According to Rolling Stone magazine, Boone claimed to have aided Bundy's escape from prison in 1977 by smuggling money to him. In fact, Bundy proposed to Boone in court in 1980. Boone attended Bundy's trial in Orlando in 1980 for the murders of the Kappa Omega sorority girls, Margaret Bowman and Lisa Levy, where the serial killer represented himself as his own lawyer. Bundy even called Boone to testify as a personal witness. The future mother of Rosa Bundy had recently moved to Gainesville to be closer to Ted, about 40 miles from prison. Boone did not only arrange conjugal visits for Bundy, but was also reported to have smuggled drugs and money into the prison for him. Ultimately, during Bundy's trial, he asked her to marry him. The couple held their wedding ceremony in the courthouse while Bundy was on trial for the murder of Kimberly Leach. Florida law stipulates that any marriage occurring in front of a judge is legal. Thus, Bundy and Boone conducted a surprise wedding in front of jurors and the judge on February 9, 1980, according to the Associated Press. The following day, Bundy was sentenced to death in the electric chair. Despite the prohibition of physical contact between inmates and civilians, Boone became pregnant more than a year later, in September 1981. She later stated that the guards weren't necessarily enforcing the rules, which allowed her and Bundy to engage in sexual relations behind bars. Initially, Carole Ann Boone refused to disclose the identity of the child's father, stating to reporters, "It's no one's business." After just the first day, they no longer cared, Boone said in a recording featured in Ted Bundy, Conversations with a Killer. "They came in on us several times." However, as time went on, Boone and Bundy's relationship began to deteriorate. According to Boone's friend Diane Smith, in the documentary series Ted Bundy, Falling for a Killer, on Amazon, he was exhausting, obsessive, demanding, moody, always needing her as if she didn't have enough to do. Smith added that Boone eventually was just tired of him and his way of treating her. As the likelihood of Bundy failing to secure a stay of execution increased, he contacted Boone and asked if he should start providing information about where he disposed of some bodies to buy more time before his execution. That was his way of telling her that there were bodies he knew about and that he had actually killed all those girls, Smith commented in the series. That call was devastating for her. She was really angry and shocked by his frank confession. I'm amazed that she talked to him at all. And when he wanted to talk to Rosa, she said no, so there was no goodbye to Rosa. Following that confession, Boone formally separated from Bundy and ceased bringing their daughter to visit him in prison. There are, of course, theories about what exactly happened with Rosa, who is now 41 years old. How she spent her youth, where she pursued her studies, what kind of friends she met, or what she is currently doing remains undisclosed. As Ted Bundy's daughter, it is highly likely that Rosa is deliberately maintaining a low profile. Being the child of one of history's most infamous killers would make even casual conversations at parties challenging. Some speculate that Boone remarried and changed her name, possibly living in Oklahoma as Abigail Griffin, but no one knows for sure. In the 2008 reissue of her book, The Stranger Beside Me, Ann Rule, a former police officer who worked with Ted Bundy on the suicide prevention hotline, reaffirmed her stance on this matter for anyone interested in learning about the current life of Ted Bundy's daughter. I've heard that Ted's daughter is a lovely and intelligent young woman, but I don't know where she and her mother live, she wrote. They've endured enough pain. Later, Rule clarified on her website, stating, I have deliberately avoided learning any information about Ted's wife and daughter because they deserve privacy. I don't want to know where they are. I don't want to be surprised by a reporter's question about them. All I know is that Ted's daughter grew up to be a wonderful young woman. It is certainly known that Boone passed away in a nursing home in Washington state in 2018, according to the documentary series.